Have you ever felt completely outmatched in life? Like you were facing a giant with nothing but a slingshot? I bet you didn't know that one of history's most famous underdog stories, David versus Goliath, isn't just about physical strength, but about having the courage to stand when everyone else runs away. Today, we're diving into this incredible story that still echoes through our challenges 3,000 years later. Hey everyone, welcome back to Ancient Wisdom today. I'm so glad you're here as we explore another powerful Bible story. I'd love to hear your perspective on this story. Drop a comment below with what resonates most with you, or share a time when you had to face your own giant. Let's set the scene. We're looking at events from about 1000 BCE. The Israelites, God's chosen people who had escaped Egypt generations earlier, were now settled in the Promised Land, but they weren't alone. They shared this territory with several other nations, including the Philistines, who were their constant enemies. The Israelites had recently demanded a king to lead them, and God had given them Saul, tall, handsome, and impressive. But despite his imposing appearance, King Saul often lacked courage when it mattered most. The Philistine and Israelite armies faced each other across the valley of Elah. Imagine rolling hills with a valley between them. Each army camped on opposite ridges. For 40 straight days, a terrifying ritual had been playing out. From the Philistine camp, a massive warrior would stride out each morning and evening. This was Goliath of Gath, over 9 feet tall according to the biblical account. Picture someone who would make professional basketball players look small. He wore a bronze helmet, a coat of scale armor weighing 125 pounds, bronze greaves on his legs, and carried a javelin with a 15-pound iron spearhead. His very footsteps shook the ground. Walking ahead of him was his shield bearer, because Goliath's weapons were too heavy for him to carry everything himself. Each day, this giant would shout across the valley, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then came the line that sent shivers through every Israelite soldier. "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." When King Saul and his soldiers heard this, they were terrified. Not a single warrior was willing to face Goliath. Can you imagine the atmosphere in that camp? The shame, the fear, the hopelessness growing with each passing day? Meanwhile, in the little town of Bethlehem, we meet our unlikely hero. David was the youngest of 8 brothers, a shepherd boy who spent his days in the fields watching over his father's sheep. 3 of his older brothers had joined Saul's army to fight the Philistines. One day, David's father Jesse asked him to take food to his brothers at the battlefront and find out how they were doing. David eagerly agreed. He was probably excited. Imagine being a teenager getting to visit where all the action was happening. When David arrived at the camp, he ran to find his brothers. And that's when he heard Goliath's booming voice echoing across the valley, mocking the Israelite army and their God. David watched as the soldiers scattered in fear. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? David asked. Instead of seeing an unstoppable giant, David saw someone insulting the God he loved. David's oldest brother alive heard him asking questions and became angry. "Why have you come down here, and with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle. Isn't it interesting how sometimes those closest to us can be the first to discourage us?" But David didn't let his brother's words stop him. Word reached King Saul that someone was asking about fighting Goliath. Desperate for any solution, Saul sent for David. Standing before the king, David said something astonishing. "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Can you picture this scene? A teenage shepherd boy volunteering to fight when battle-hardened warriors were hiding in their tents. Saul looked at David young, not even a soldier, and replied, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. "You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David had a secret source of confidence. He told Saul about his experiences as a shepherd. "When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." David wasn't relying on his own strength, he was trusting in God's faithfulness. His past experiences had taught him that God would be with him in this new challenge. Reluctantly, Saul agreed. "Go, and the Lord be with you." Saul offered David his own armor, a bronze helmet, and coat of mail. David put them on but found he couldn't move freely. "I cannot go in these," he said, "because I am not used to them." Instead, he took them off and grabbed his shepherd's staff, his sling, and chose 5 smooth stones from a nearby stream, placing them in his shepherd's bag. Now comes the moment of truth. David walked toward Goliath while the entire Israelite army watched in stunned silence. When Goliath saw this boy coming with just a staff, he was insulted. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" Then he cursed David by his gods and shouted, "Come here, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and wild animals." The giant's words were meant to terrify, but David wasn't intimidated. With clear eyes and a steady voice, he replied, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. Today I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves. For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." As Goliath moved closer to attack, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. He reached into his bag, took out a stone, and slung it toward Goliath. The stone struck the giant on the forehead, the one unprotected spot in his armor, and sank into his skull. Goliath fell face down on the ground. David ran and stood over him. Without a sword of his own, he grabbed Goliath's sword and cut off the giant's head, just as he had promised. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they turned and ran. The Israelites surged forward with a shout, pursuing the Philistines and defeating them decisively. David's victory over Goliath was just the beginning of his story. He would go on to become Israel's greatest king, but that day in the valley of Elah was where his public journey began, not with physical strength, but with courage rooted in faith. King Saul asked, "Whose son are you, young man?" David replied, "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem." Though he started as an unknown shepherd boy, by sunset, everyone in Israel knew David's name. So what does this ancient story mean for us today? We all face giants in our lives. They might not be 9-foot warriors, but they can be just as intimidating: anxiety, impossible work situations, broken relationships, health challenges, or financial struggles. Like David, we often feel outmatched. The world tells us we need impressive credentials, perfect backgrounds, or superior strength to overcome our challenges. But David's story flips this conventional wisdom upside down. David won because he saw the situation differently. Where others saw an unbeatable enemy, David saw an opportunity for God to show his power. He remembered past victories, the bears and lions he faced as a shepherd prepared him for Goliath. He used the gifts he already had. He did and tried to fight in Saul's armor, but used the skills God had already given him. He acted with courage when everyone else was paralyzed by fear. What giants are you facing today? What would it look like for you to approach them with David's confident faith rather than the fear that gripped Saul's army? As you go through your week, consider, what Goliaths seem unconquerable in your life right now? What past experiences might God be using to prepare you for today's challenges? Are you trying to wear someone else's armor, or are you embracing the unique gifts God has given you? Where might you need to take a courageous stand when others are backing away? If this story inspired you today, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this Bible story and want more videos that bring ancient wisdom to life, hit that subscribe button. I share a new Bible story every week that connects these timeless teachings to our modern lives. Join our community to continue the journey through these powerful stories together. Remember, the greatest victories often come when we face our giants with faith rather than run from them in fear. Until next time, may you find the courage to stand strong against whatever giant you're facing today.